Friends, I welcome to all those who have recently joined the channel. As you know that I have explained in many vlogs in the past that from time to time I've been sharing my life stories as far as the improvement of quality of life is concerned within the context of healthcare. I've been sharing many numerous vlogs on different topics, and I have a request which I have made in the past as well. All those viewers, don't look at in isolation a one vlog because that's not going to get you anywhere. And that's how I was at one time before 9 years when I was just trying to fix quick things, and I was looking at one or two parameters at one time. And over time, I realized that, healthcare and quality of health and longevity and health span is not attributed to only one single factor. There are a lot of numerous interventions which we have to do at individual level, and when totality, you see the fruitful result. And from time to time, I have shared stories and case studies which we read in the newspaper or media. Similarly, I have just come across 3 days ago one article in Economic Times that a 35-year-old female died due to heart attack. And it's very, very shocking. I feel very emotional, and I have a feeling for the family and loved ones. We only can pray at this time that her soul rest in eternal peace. But what are the learning outcomes? So that article shared one of the doctor who tweeted, and there's a snippet of that tweet in that, and I'm going to share some results from her lab work, which is not complete in by any measures. It's just a lipid panel. But let's try to dissect a little bit lipid panel and what was going on. And according to her doctor, she was lean and fit. Okay, going to the gym, everything. So let me share the screen, and then we can look a little bit more. So what you're seeing here, it's a case study basically. What was with limited number of markers and parameters published in the Economic Times, and which a doctor tweeted for the lab results and as I kept as best I can capture. I wrote it down in the bullets, and just to summarize, and I'm going to include the article, the link in my description as well. A 35-year-old woman who appeared fit, remember, lean and fit, BMI is only 20, which is ideal, and outwardly healthy, suddenly died from a heart attack, revealing that looks can be misleading when it comes to internal health. Now, unfortunately, the lifestyle which she had, it's disrupted sleep schedule, sleep deprivation, because she was working for one of the U.S. firms remotely in India, I believe, and there was international working hours. So she was working almost all night when there was a day in the U.S., and she was sleeping during the daytime in India. So she worked overnight to align with the international work hours, slept during the day, which upset the body's natural rhythm, right? So, nights are for sleep. I can understand that, people have constraints, and there are sometimes no option, but that's a risk factor which we are listing here. One risk factor, okay? And we need to mitigate everything, all the risk factor to the best of our ability. And sometimes, there is no solution for a given risk factor based on the economic conditions of a family, and I understand that perfectly. Chronic sleep disruption is linked to metabolic imbalances that raise heart disease risk. Now, she was living alone, poor diet from convenience food. Last vlog, I covered a lot of discussion about processed food and, ultra processed food and, quick meal and easy to get going meal. So she was living alone and she relied on delivery of meals high in processed ingredients, unhealthy fats, and refined carbs. Okay. So because of the high work stress lifestyle, probably she didn't have the time to cook herself. Okay. And she was relying on majorly, quick delivery meals and, all that. Right. So, of course, you are going to get all these processed food in the, nobody's going to cook you for, even though they're going to cook you, sometimes, there's a custom order, but, we don't know what kind of ingredients a person is including into the cooking, right? So you don't have control over that because, sometimes, they try to control the prices cheap because, then, of course, the ingredients are going to be accordingly. So over time, this caused dangerously high triglyceride and cholesterol, turning her blood into thick and increasing cardiac risk. So basically, her blood work became clot prone, quite thick and viscous. Now, these are the parameters listed in the report, that her total cholesterol was 300 milligrams per deciliter. Her LDL was 143. So 143 is not bad, actually. The J curve I explained in one of the vlog last year before, the J curve for which is the optimum with the lowest mortality of heart disease risk. The LDL value hovers between 134 and 136. That's the lowest point where the slope is 0. Okay, that's a J curve I explained. So it's not bad from that perspective. 143 is not out of the whack. I don't rely 100% that it has to be less than 100, as a lot of doctors say. It's not LDL that matters that much, but, within that distribution, which we are going to come in a bit. Now, her triglyceride, if you look, 561 milligram per deciliter. And I have explained in one of the vlog that 150, which is the normal limit, it's pretty liberal. I don't like that 150 even. So, I try to keep under 50, okay? Under 50, yes, you heard it right, under 50. And that's achievable because I was before around 90 and I'm hovering between 45 and 50 right now. So 561 from that standard, even though if you take 150 as a normal standard, it's quite a bit, it's pretty high. Now, this 561, now VLDL, her VLDL is listed as 112. Now, VLDL is very small, dense LDL, okay? VLDL, very low density lipoprotein. These are the small particles. Now, if you recall my previous vlogs, and I explained you that, if this triglyceride, as the triglyceride goes up, the generation of small LDL particles, small lipid dense particle increases, okay? And those particles are smaller in surface area, they're prone to get oxidized pretty quick, and they penetrate through the endothelial layer of the artery, and that's the progression. They participate in the progression of a atherosclerotic plaque, okay? And it builds over time. It takes years to build it. Now, so it means that, it was quite a bit burden of small LDLP in her case, which was, totally unnoticed because she looked slim, fit from outside. So, people don't care that, I can eat whatever I want because I burn it off, right? That's the mantra out there. And, I hit the gym, I burned calories, and unfortunately, body doesn't work that way. Remember that body doesn't work that way. I've been saying over and over, body doesn't work that way because internal marker, you need to know how things are internally rather than externally only. Okay. So her VLDL was 112. Now 112 is not a magical number. There's a formula that VLDL you can compute by your triglyceride. So VLDL is nothing but 1/5 of your triglyceride. Okay, that's the equation. In Føldt equation, the total cholesterol equals to LDL plus HDL plus 1/5 of your triglyceride. That's how it's defined. That's a very old technique, by the way. In early 70s, and it's not very good measure to calibrate your total lipid panel, which I have explained in the past, that now people in the United States who are here in the United States, you should do cardio IQ, advanced panel cardio IQ, or NMR lipoprofile. Those are the particle distribution tests, which gives you a lot more information about small LDLP. But if you take people who are living in India and other parts of the world where there is no particle distribution available, I've explained in the past vlog that you can take this measure of triglyceride over HDL ratio. Now, ideally, her in this case, her HDL was 45 milligrams per deciliter. Now, for females, that the minimum was required according to the lab ranges defined is 50, and for male its minimum is 40. Okay, so she was lower than 50 in this case, so she was under anyways. Now, if you take her triglyceride over HDL ratio, that is 12.47. Now, in one of the vlog, I have explained that this is the best cardiac risk parameter, the TG over HDL ratio, to assess one's risk. Now, they say that, it should be less than 2, but ideally, based on my studies, I target less than 1. Okay, at one point, I've explained I was 3.33, and I lowered it to 0.7 as of, now. Okay, so it's doable, and I will tell you over and over that why it's doable, because if I did it, anybody can do it, right? So it's a measure that you have to tackle, because once you have a high triglyceride, of course it's going to throw you off completely in that ratio, and in this case she was 12.47, which is very, very high risk category. Okay, we don't know other parameters of her markers, which I have explained in my previous vlogs, like was she insulin resistant? I don't know. Inflammation, hsCRP, that's an inflammation marker. Homocysteine, that's a cardiac risk parameter as well. Lp(a), which is genetic predisposition, that it's a very atherogenic Lp(a) particle which transfers either from mom or dad. Could that be at play? We don't know. There is a test for that. How much was the OXLDL, oxidized LDL particles? What was the ApoB? So we don't know all these particles, all these markers, and all these parameters. But one can assess that based on her eating habits, her lifestyle. She was eating a lot of processed food, and relying on completely outsourcing meals. So I bet you that her inflammation is going to be at play, and her insulin resistance is going to be at play, because her triglyceride number 561 is a metabolic parameter. If you remember my metabolic syndrome vlog, that there are 5 parameters. If you satisfy 3 parameters out of 5, it means that you have a metabolic syndrome. Now, one of the parameters is having a triglyceride greater than 150. So she has one metabolic syndrome here, and then your HDL is under, based on your gender, so her HDL is 45, and which is less than 50 milligrams per deciliter. So she was under on that front as well. So what is the underlying issue revealed after her collapse? Lab tests showed extremely elevated lipids, which we have looked at it, cholesterol and triglyceride. Particularly pay attention to your TG, triglyceride, and your HDL. These are the 2 parameters which you should be focusing like a hawk, okay, as far as the heart disease is concerned. And despite her slim appearance, so because people think that we normally tend to get very complacent, that when I'm thin I can eat whatever I want, because I burn it off. My metabolic health is such that I can eat anything I want, and particularly people who are going into the gym, that's what the thinking is behind it. But body doesn't work that way. Okay, what you put here, that's control 90%, 10% only the exercise. I'm not putting any importance of exercise and movement, on a daily basis. It's important. I've done one vlog on physical activity, but anything, because if you think that, she may have underlying conditions, but based on her lipids, and if she was doing the hardcore gym, intense training, guess what? There is a strong correlation that, when you do high intensive training, exercises, your atherosclerotic plaque tends to increase over time, because body doesn't like anything under stress, okay? Whether it's a mental stress or physical stress, you have to have a sweet curve, which we call a J curve, physical activity with, moderate pace, which I have done one vlog. So that's why I've been telling you guys all these time that try to look at each vlog as a piece of the puzzle, okay? And then try to put it together slowly and gradually, because, it's a learning curve. As I have evolved over time, I want you to look at, those footsteps, and I'm sharing everything here on these sets of vlogs. I'm not keeping anything. I'm not hoarding anything under my, belt. So, take your time, look at it, and try to iterate in your life and see the results. These internal metabolic issues have quietly been built over years and ultimately triggered certain heart failure. Because, if underlying conditions, as we say that, these diseases are, particularly heart disease is one of them, they are insidious in nature. It takes years to build up, because, you cannot see from outside. You may look like normal person, but internally it's telling you the totally different story. And the only way you can figure it out is by doing the right marker test, okay? What is the learnings here? External fitness doesn't guarantee internal health. Regular checkups and lab screening matters even for people who look healthy, okay? So, and good sleep, balanced nutrition, consistent routines, stress management, and preventive health checks are essential for real cardiovascular well-being. So let me stop share here. As I said that, we have to learn from the incidents which happens around us, okay? And it tells you the story, something that, where we are, what are we doing? So take a step back and reevaluate your regime, your lifestyle, your routines, everything. Take individual parameter at one at a time and try to reflect on it, okay? Because that's the difference between us and, as a human, and then the animals, right? Because, we have been given intellect. So think about it, that what are we doing? Underwrite all the risks which are associated. That, like, for instance, in her case, she may not have control over all the risk, right? Like working for a US company remotely, of course, she has to work during the nighttime when it was night in India, because, during the day business operates in the United States. So she doesn't have a control because of economic constraints. I understand that. But she could have managed many other parameters, because, when you have too many parameters going against you, it's going to create a havoc, okay? It's a fire of ball, right? So control whatever like, for instance, environment is one factor, right? We inhale, exhale when we go out, if it's too much carbon inside, our system, which we inhale through carbon monoxide, a lot of pollution, we don't have a control. The only control is that, keep your mouth covered with a mask. But that's another issue, in the long run, because you are inhaling a lot of your own carbon monoxide, which you are exhaling, your carbon dioxide in the form of very diluted carbon, okay? But, I understand that, so those factors which are controllable by you, I think we should do everything in our power to control those factors to the best of our ability. That's the message I want to leave you with today. And if you have any questions, concerns, please include in the comment section. And remember that, your health, your life is your destiny. It's in your hand. You can control to some extent, okay? It's not like things happen in vacuum, because it's a slow and gradual process, and you see the results one way or the other. Okay, getting better in health, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a switching on and off type of thing, right? It took me almost 3.5 years to move my HDL from 27 to 64. Okay, took me a lot of time in digging up research material and everything and do the right protocol and how I did it. Okay, I've explained you in many of my HDL related vlogs. So look at those things and try to improve one or two things at a time, and eventually you will see the results. I hope to see you next time.